Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about the first thing that we have to talk about in Unit B, and that's slope. Slope has a formula, which we're going to practice in example number 1, but you can also find slope by looking at graphs, which we're also going to do in example number 2. So let's start with the formula. So the formula for slope is found right inside that bolded out box up at the top here. And it says that m is our slope, is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, on your notes, I need you to flip that around for me. y2 should be first. That was just a typo on my end, not yours. Okay, so we're going to use that in example number 1 to find the slope of both of these points. So where do I get x1, y1, x2, y2? Well, that comes from the coordinate. So the very first number that I see is my x. That's going to be x1 because it's the first x I see. The second number I see is y. So that's y1. As I go through the points, that just becomes x2, y2. If there was a third point, that would be x3, y3, and so on. So when I plug that into the formula, I'm just going to plug in the numbers. Now I'm going to write the formula this first time. You don't have to once you know it, and you don't need to memorize it because it is on the reference sheet on your exam. So y2 I have as being 4, y1 is -2, x2 is 2, and x1 is 0. Now right here we have a double negative. A double negative means that it changes to a positive. 4 plus 2 is really 6, and 2 minus 0 is 2. If you can reduce, you should. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that's a positive slope because it's a positive number. Now let's try that again. In number 2, I'm going to label x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. This time I'm not going to have you write the formula because you don't have to. Okay, it's not required. It's sometimes helpful if you don't remember the order. But it is given to you, like I said, on the reference sheet. You don't have to memorize it. y2 is -1, y1 is 2, x2 is 4, and x1 is -2. So again, just like the last problem, we have a double negative on the bottom. Those become positive. -1 minus 2 is -3. 4 plus 2 is 6. And again, if you can, go ahead and reduce. If you're not sure how to reduce a fraction, you can always do so in your calculator. If you type in -3 divided by 6 and hit math, the math button's on the left-hand side, enter, your calculator will reduce the fraction for you. This fraction will come out to be -1/2, and that's a negative slope because it's a negative number. So now what does that mean, positive and negative slope? Well, that is the direction of the line, which we're going to see in example number 2. So this is how you find slope using a formula. In example number 2, they're asking us to find it using a graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is plot my points. So I want you to write these instructions down. We're going to plot the point. And here's how we do it. So to plot 2, 3, we're going to start at the 0. We're going to go find the 2 on the x-axis, and then count up 3. So it's kind of like the game Battleship, if you've ever played that. -4, I'm going to label that just so you know. You don't have to do that when you plot, just this time, so you remember which point is which. -4, 5. We're going to start at 0 again. We're going to go left to -4 this time, and down 5. Okay, my second step is to count how many boxes I went up. Between the points. So if I count, here's where I started. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes up. Next, I'm going to count how many boxes I went to the right. Now, you could also be going to the left, just so you know, and we'll talk about that as we practice a little bit more. So from here, I'm going this way. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right. The last step you need to do after you count is just set up rise over run. Slope is also known as how many boxes you go up. I went up 8, or rose 8, and I ran, or went left to right, by 6. If I reduce that fraction again by using my calculator, I type in 8 divided by 6 and hit math, enter, enter. I'm going to come out with 4 over 3. Okay, and that is a positive slope because it's a positive number. Okay? In the last question, they're asking us to graph a line using the slope and a point that's given to us. So this is actually my favorite method of graphing. There are several different methods, and I'm going to teach you all of them, but this is my favorite because it's the fastest. So what we're going to do first is we are going to plot the point that they gave us. So again, I'm going to use the same method I did before. I'm going to start at 0. I'm going to go left to -1 and up 4. Okay, and I'll label that again for you. You don't have to label when you graph. This is just to help you kind of figure out where we're going. Then they tell us that this line has a slope of -1. Well, remember that slope is really rise over run. So if I have a slope of 1, that means that I went up 1, -1. A slope of -1 would mean that I would rise, or fall, down 1, and then how far did I run? We learned a long time ago that we can make any number into a fraction by putting it over 1. So according to my slope, from my point that I started with, I'm going to go down 1 box, or fall 1 box, and run 1 box. Excuse me. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go down 1 box and over 1 box. Now you can do that as many times as you want until you have a clear-cut line. You have to do at least 3 points. So once I have 3, I'm good to go. You can keep going if you want to. Okay, I'm going to do a few more just to make that line a little easier to draw. Next, you're going to connect all of your points. So we want to repeat those points at least twice, so we have 3 points total, and then we want to connect dots. Now when we connect, we don't just connect the dots that we have, we actually extend it through the entire graph. Now of course, you'll be using your rulers to make this line nice and straight. I don't have that option on my computer. Okay? But good news for you, I'm pretty good at drawing straight lines. Okay, so you're going to connect all your points, and you're going to extend that through the entire graph. We don't make these little tiny midget lines, and your lines have to have arrows on both ends. Okay, so you go through the whole graph and put arrows on both ends. You do have classwork today. I'd like you to practice that. Please, Ms. Hahn is here to help you, and I will be back for enrichment. I'm just at a meeting, okay? I'll see you soon.